I remember the feeling perfectly. The water splashing against my face, the chlorine burning my eyes, Trey's arms getting weak under my hands, his head underwater, and me. I didn't let go. I didn't scream. I didn't call for help. I held him there until he stopped moving. I killed my cousin. I was 14 years old. Have you ever hated someone so much that you'd rather ruin your own life just to make that person disappear forever? I have, and I did. I know it sounds terrible. I know you're probably judging me right now, but I need to tell you the whole story because I've been keeping this secret for 2 years and I can't hold it in anymore. I need someone to really listen to, understand why I did what I did, because when I tried to ask for help before, nobody believed me. And that was what changed everything. My name is Malik. I'm 16 now, but when everything went down, I was 14. I live with my mom in a small house just outside the city. It's been just the two of us for as long as I can remember. My dad left when I was 5 and never came back. I don't know where he is, and honestly, I don't even care anymore. My mom works double shifts as a registered nurse, so we don't go without. She does what she can, or she used to. Our relationship is broken now, but I'll get to that. We were always the poor side of the family. My mom has a sister, my Aunt Verna, who married a businessman and lives in a huge house in a gated community with a pool, 3 luxury cars, and everything you could imagine. And they have a son, Trey, my cousin, the golden boy. The one everyone looked up to, the straight A student, the varsity athlete in 3 sports, with thousands of followers on social media, and a smile that made everyone think he was an angel. Trey was 5 years older than me. When this happened, he was 19. Family gatherings were my personal hell. Every Sunday cookout, every birthday, every Christmas, it was always the same torture. Aunt Verna comparing me to Trey in front of everyone. Did you see Trey won another award? And you, Malik, how are your grades holding up? My mom tried to defend me, but without much conviction, because even she thought Trey was better than me. Trey is just so responsible, so mature. You should be more like your cousin Malik. But nobody knew who Trey really was. Nobody except me. It all started when I was 11. Trey was 16. It was at one of those boring family get-togethers where the adults sat in the living room drinking wine and arguing about politics while we the kids had to entertain ourselves. Trey told me he'd teach me a new video game in his room. I was excited. My older cousin, the cool Trey, wanted to hang out with me. I was so stupid. I'm not going into graphic details about what happened that day in his bedroom, but that was the first time he touched me. The first time he did things a 16-year-old cousin should never do to an 11-year-old kid. When I tried to pull away, he covered my mouth and whispered in my ear, "If you say anything, nobody's gonna believe you. Everybody knows I'm the good kid, and you're the trouble. Who do you think they're gonna listen to?" And he was right. From that day on, every family gathering turned into a nightmare. Trey always found a way to get me alone in his room, in the bathroom, in the garage, once even in the laundry room, while everyone was out in the backyard. It got worse every time. Every time I felt dirtier, more broken, more trapped. I tried to avoid him. I made up excuses not to go to the gatherings. I'd miraculously get sick every Sunday. But my mom insisted, "Family is important, Malik. Don't be antisocial." She didn't understand. She couldn't understand because I couldn't tell her. How do you explain to your mom that the perfect cousin, the one she always uses as an example, is a monster? When I was 12, I tried to tell her for the first time. We were in the car coming back from a dinner, and I gathered all my courage. "Mom, Trey does weird stuff to me when we're alone." She almost slammed on the brakes. She looked at me with eyes full of worry and asked, "What kind of stuff?" But when I started to explain, her expression changed. It went from worry to discomfort, then to denial. "Oh, Malik, I'm sure it's just cousin horseplay. Boys play rough sometimes. Trey wouldn't hurt you on purpose. He loves you." Cousin horseplay. That's what she said. I felt so invalidated, so small, that I didn't try to tell her again for a whole year. And Trey got bolder, more aggressive, like he knew I had tried to talk, and they hadn't believed me. He'd send me text messages at night, photos, veiled threats. "See you Sunday, little cousin. Can't wait for our quality time." I started to change. At school, I got violent. I'd fight over anything. A shove in the hallway, a wrong look, someone laughing near me. I'd explode. I got suspended 3 times in middle school. My grades went through the floor. I stopped talking to my friends. I quit the football team, which was the only thing I liked. I locked myself in my room and wouldn't come out. My mom thought it was puberty. The teachers thought I was a problem child. Nobody asked why a 12-year-old kid who used to be happy now looked dead inside. The nights were the worst. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Trey's face. I felt his hands hurt his voice. I developed severe insomnia. I lost about 15 pounds in 2 months. I had panic attacks in the middle of class and had to run to the bathroom. Once I passed out in PE, the school nurse told my mom it might be anemia. They prescribed me vitamins, as if vitamins could fix what was broken inside me. When I was 13, almost turning 14, I met Jada. She was new at school. She sat next to me in math and didn't care that everyone avoided me. She started talking to me like I was a normal person, like I wasn't the weird, violent kid everyone was scared of. Little by little, we became friends, best friends. Jada was the only person who really saw me. One day, we were at her house doing homework, and I had a panic attack out of nowhere. She didn't get scared. She didn't judge me. She just sat next to me and waited until I could breathe again. When I calmed down, she asked, "What is happening to you, Malik? And don't tell me nothing because I know you. Something is destroying you from the inside." And for the first time in 3 years, I cried. I cried like I had never cried before. And I told her everything, absolutely everything. Every disgusting detail of what Trey had done to me for 3 years. Every threat every time I tried to ask for help. And nobody listened. Jada hugged me and cried with me. And she told me something that changed everything. "This isn't right, Malik. This is abuse, and we have to report it." I was scared, terrified, but Jada insisted. She convinced me that we should talk to the school guidance counselor. "It's gonna be different this time," she told me. "This time, someone is gonna believe you." So we did it. We gathered all the courage I had and went together to the office of Ms. Davis, the counselor. I told her everything again, every detail. She took notes, looked serious, professional. She told me she was going to handle this with care and that she was going to contact my family for a meeting. I thought someone was finally listening to me. I thought this was finally going to end. How naive I was. The meeting was a week later. It was my mom, my Aunt Verna, my aunt's husband, Uncle Marcus Trey, and the counselor. Trey looked at me when we walked into the office, and I saw something in his eyes. It wasn't fear. It was confidence. Like he already knew how this was going to end. Ms. Davis explained that I had made very serious accusations about Trey. She said the words, "sexual abuse," and I saw my mom go pale. My Aunt Verna stood up from her chair screaming, asking how I dared to tell such lies about her son. My uncle demanded to know what kind of school allowed students to defame people like this without proof. And then it was Trey's turn to speak. His voice cracked in such a convincing way that even I almost believed him. He said I had always been jealous of him, that my mom had told him I had behavioral problems at school and at home. He said he understood it was hard for me coming from a single-parent home without money, while he had everything. He said he loved me so much as a cousin, and that it broke his heart that I would invent such horrible stories just to get attention. He cried. Trey wept in front of everyone, and they believed him. My aunt hugged him, hugged. His dad put a hand on his shoulder. The counselor looked at her papers uncomfortable. And my mom? My mom looked at me with a mix of disappointment and shame I will never forget. "Malik, how could you?" she said in front of everyone. "How can you make up something like that? Trey has always been good to you. This is unforgivable." I tried to defend myself. I tried to scream the truth, but nobody was listening. The counselor said that without evidence, she couldn't do anything else, and that maybe I needed psychological help for inventing such disturbing fantasies. My aunt demanded that I apologize to Trey immediately, or she was going to consider legal action for defamation. And my mom, my own mom, forced me to apologize. Right there in front of everyone, I had to look Trey in the eye and say, "I'm sorry for making up lies about you." Trey hugged me. He whispered so low only I could hear it. "I told you nobody was going to believe you." I walked out of that meeting feeling like I had died. Jada was waiting for me outside the school, and when she saw my face, she knew it had gone wrong. She hugged me while I shook without being able to cry. I didn't have any tears left. My mom grounded me for a month. No phone, no going out, no friends. "You need to reflect on what you did," she told me. She didn't speak a word to me for days. The relationship with my aunt obviously went to hell, but my mom apologized to her 1,000 times over the phone. "I don't know what's wrong with Malik. He's going through a rough phase. He's making things up for attention." And Trey won. He came out looking like the saint who forgave his troubled cousin, his reputation intact, his perfect life without a scratch. And I was left as the liar, the crazy one, the one who made up horrible stories about his own family. I thought about killing myself. I'm not gonna lie. There were nights I stared at the pills in my mom's medicine cabinet and thought it would be easier. Easier than living like this, easier than having to see Trey's face every Sunday, knowing he had won. But something in me refused to give him that victory too. 3 weeks after that disastrous meeting, my aunt threw a party at her house. It was my grandfather's birthday. My mom forced me to go. You have to go and behave. You've caused enough trouble in this family. I remember that day perfectly. It was Saturday, it was hot, and everyone was in the backyard around the pool. I stayed away from everyone. I sat in a corner with my plate of food, pretending I existed somewhere else. Jada had been texting me all day asking if I was okay. I lied and told her yes. Trey was playing the perfect host, pouring drinks, making everyone laugh, taking pictures for his social media. Every time he walked near me, he smiled. That smile that only I knew the real meaning of. The party went on until it started to get dark. The adults were inside the house getting the cake ready. The younger cousins were playing video games in the living room, and I went out to the garden to get some fresh air, to get away from the noise, to try not to explode. Trey followed me. I didn't realize until I felt his hand on my shoulder. I spun around and there he was. Just the two of us in the dark garden. The lit up pool behind him, his face with that expression I knew too well. That mix of power and desire that made me want to vomit. Hey, little cousin, he said, with that smooth voice he used when he knew nobody else could hear. How's it going? We haven't spent any quality time together in weeks. I took a step back. Get away from me, he laughed. Or what? You're gonna make up more lies about me. You saw how that went last time. Nobody believed you, Malik. Nobody is ever gonna believe you because I'm Trey, the perfect cousin, and you're the messed up kid who makes up stories for attention. I felt the rage starting to rise in my chest. Rage I had been storing up for 3 years. Rage for every time he touched me, for every time he threatened me, for every time I asked for help, and nobody listened. Back off, I repeated, but my voice was shaking. Trey stepped closer. I could smell his expensive cologne, see the confidence in his eyes. You know what the best part of all this is, he whispered. That now I can do whatever I want with you. And if you say anything, everyone's gonna think you're crazy, that you're obsessed with me, that you need psychiatric help. He put his hand on my waist, and I reacted. I shoved him with all my strength. He wasn't expecting real resistance. He stumbled backward, his arms windmilling, trying to keep his balance, and he fell backward into the pool with a splash that seemed to echo through the whole yard. My heart was beating so hard, I could hear it in my ears. Trey surfaced coughing and spitting water. He started to swim toward the edge, but he was doing it wrong, really wrong. His arms were moving in a weird, desperate way, and then I realized something I never knew. Trey didn't know how to swim well. He always avoided getting in the pool at parties. He always had an excuse. He just ate. He had to tend to guess. He didn't want to get wet. I thought it was because he was protecting his perfect image. I never thought it was because he couldn't swim. And in that moment, seeing him struggle in the water, something inside me broke. Or maybe it got fixed. I don't know. But I made a decision. A decision that would change everything forever. I got into the pool. I swam toward him. And when I was close enough, when his eyes lit up, thinking I was going to help him, I put my hands on his head and pushed him down. Underwater, Trey fought. God, did he fight. His hands tried to grab me, to scratch me, to push me, but I was stronger than he thought. 3 years of repressed rage gave me a strength I didn't know I had. I held him there under the water, watching the bubbles rise to the surface, watching his movements get slower, weaker, and I didn't let go. His body stopped moving, his hands fell away. The water calmed down, and I let him go. His body floated face down, and I got out of the pool, shaking from head to toe. Not from fear, from something else, something I can't really explain. I screamed. I screamed so loud everyone in the house came running. He drowned! Trey fell in, and I couldn't get him out in time. Help! The adults pulled his body out. Someone called 911. They tried CPR, but it was already too late. My aunt was screaming and crying over her son's body. My mom was hugging me thinking I was traumatized, and I just felt empty. Trey died that night. Officially, it was a tragic accident. The perfect son slipped and drowned in his own pool during his grandfather's birthday party. Ironic, isn't it? The next few days were a blur. The funeral people crying, everyone saying nice things about Trey. What a good kid he was. What a bright future he had. What a terrible tragedy. I acted the part of the devastated cousin. I cried at the funeral. They weren't fake tears exactly. I was crying, but not for him. The police investigated. Obviously, they asked me questions. What happened exactly? How did he fall in? Why couldn't you save him? I kept my story simple and consistent. Trey and I were talking by the pool. He slipped and fell. I tried to pull him out, but I couldn't. He was bigger than me. It all happened too fast. There were no witnesses, no cameras in that part of the yard, just my word. And this time, ironically, everyone believed me. The case was closed as an accident. Accidental drowning. No charges, no legal consequences. But the emotional consequences were something else. My mom started to change with me. At first, she hugged me all the time thinking I was traumatized from witnessing my cousin's death. But as the weeks went by, she started looking at me differently, like something didn't add up, like she sensed there was something more to the story. 2 weeks after the funeral, Jada came to my house. She showed me something on her phone that froze my blood. She had found a guy on social media named Chris from another city. Chris had posted something a year ago about being abused by someone named Trey. He mentioned he was from a rich family, that he met him at a summer sports camp, that the abuse lasted months, and that when he reported it, Trey's family silenced him with money and legal threats. "You weren't the only one," Jada told me with tears in her eyes. "Malik, he was a predator, a serial predator. There were probably more victims we don't know about." I felt validated and terrified at the same time. Validated because now I had proof I wasn't crazy, that I hadn't invented anything. Terrified because it meant I had killed someone. That no matter what a monster Trey was, I had taken a life. That made me a killer, or it made me someone who defended himself the only way he could. Jada contacted Chris. He told us his full story over video chat. It was almost identical to mine. The threats, the manipulation, the family not believing him. The difference was, Trey's parents paid him to shut up and sign an NDA. Chris was 17 now, and still in therapy. When I saw the news that Trey had died, Chris told us, "I don't know how to feel. Part of me felt relieved, and that makes me feel terrible. But it's the truth." I understood exactly what he meant, because I felt relieved too. I slept better than I had in 3 years. The panic attacks disappeared. I could close my eyes without seeing his face. For the first time since I was 11, I felt free. But that freedom had a price. The guilt started eating at me. Not guilt for killing Trey specifically, but guilt for having to reach that point. Guilt because if someone had believed me the first time I asked for help, none of this would have happened. Guilt because I liked feeling free, and that felt wrong. 6 months after Trey's death, I broke. I couldn't keep the secret anymore. I couldn't keep seeing my mom walk around the house with that suspicious look. So one night when we were eating dinner alone, I told her everything. I told her the truth about the 3 years of abuse. I showed her the messages Trey had sent me that I never deleted. I told her about the meeting at school and how nobody believed me. I told her about Chris and the other victims that probably existed. And I told her what really happened in the pool that night. My mom didn't say anything for a long time. She just sat there looking at her plate, and then she started to cry. She cried like I had never seen her cry. "I'm sorry," she said over and over. "I'm so sorry, baby. I'm sorry for not believing you. I'm sorry for forcing you to go to those parties. I'm sorry for everything." But her apology didn't fix anything. It didn't change what had happened. It didn't give me back my childhood. It didn't resurrect Trey, nor erase the fact that I had killed him. My mom went into a massive guilt spiral. She blamed herself for everything, for not protecting me, for believing Trey, for forcing her son to endure abuse for years. And that guilt started destroying our relationship in a different way. She couldn't look at me anymore without seeing her own failure as a mother. After many conversations and many sleepless nights, my mom made a decision that changed everything for us. She went to the police with an edited version of the truth. She told them I had confessed that Trey's death wasn't exactly an accident, that Trey had been abusing me for years, that night he attacked me near the pool, that there was a struggle, that he fell into the water, and that I, traumatized by years of abuse, didn't try to save him, that I stood paralyzed watching him drown. She didn't say I actively pushed him under. We kept that part. But she admitted enough for there to be consequences. My mom thought I needed professional help, and that keeping the secret was destroying me. She was right about that. The case was reopened. There were more investigations. They found Trey's digital diary on his computer. It was encrypted, but the forensic tech guys managed to access it, and everything was there. Trey had written about me, about Chris, about 2 other boys we didn't even know. He wrote about how he manipulated his family, about how he enjoyed the power he had over us, about how he thought he was never going to get caught because he was too smart. Reading that was, I don't know how to describe it. It was horrible and freeing at the same time. Horrible because it confirmed every detail of my nightmare. Freeing because now there was irrefutable proof that none of this had been my fault. Aunt Verna had to read that diary as part of the investigation. She had to face who her son really was. The woman who had forced me to apologize for inventing lies now knew that every word I said was true. That her perfect son was a monster, that she had protected a predator and re-victimized his victims. She tried to talk to me. She came to my house crying, begging for forgiveness. "I didn't know," she said between sobs. "I never suspected.
I never thought my son could be capable of something like that. If I had known, if I had listened.
But I didn't want her apologies. I couldn't forgive her. Every time I saw her, I could only remember that meeting at school, her face of indignation when I made the accusations. How she defended her son, without even considering I might be telling the truth. How she forced me to apologize to my abuser, in front of everyone. I told her to leave, that I didn't want to see her ever again. My mom tried to intervene, saying Aunt Verna was a victim of Trey too, but I couldn't see it like that. To me, she was part of the problem, part of the system that failed me over and over. Legally, everything got complicated. Since I was 14 when it happened, and there was clear evidence of years of abuse, and since technically, what happened could be argued as self-defense, or a traumatic response to an attack in progress, they didn't charge me as an adult. But they didn't let me go without consequences either. The judge decided I needed intervention. They sent me to a juvenile treatment center for 18 months. It wasn't exactly jail, but it wasn't freedom either. It was a place where teenagers like me, who had done serious things, but under extreme circumstances, could receive intensive therapy and education while under supervision. Those 18 months were the hardest of my life in a completely different way. I had to face everything. Everything Trey did to me. Everything I did. I had to learn to live with the fact that I killed someone. That no matter the reasons, no matter what a monster he was, I took a life. The therapy was brutal. I had to talk about every detail of the abuse, how it made me feel, how it changed my perception of myself and the world. I had to face the rage, the shame, the fear I had been carrying for years. And I had to face the truth of what I did in that pool. My therapist, Dr. Evans, never judged me. He asked me hard questions.
At what moment did you decide not to save him? What did you feel when he stopped moving? Do you regret it?
And I answered honestly. I told him the exact moment was when I pushed him under, that I felt relief when he stopped moving, that I don't regret he's dead, but I do regret that I had to be the one to kill him. That's an important distinction. Dr. Evans told me. You can regret the circumstances without regretting the outcome. You can wish things had been different without wishing Trey was still alive, abusing you or others. I met other kids at the center, kids with stories as broken as mine. Some had killed their abusers too. Others had done terrible things after years of trauma. We were all trying to find a way to live with what we had done. There was a guy named Adriel who killed his stepdad after years of physical abuse. A girl named Zuri who set fire to her uncle's house after he abused her and her little sisters. We all had something in common. The system had failed us before we reached the breaking point. Society wants us to be perfect victims, Zuri told me one day during group therapy. They want us to report the abuse politely, to wait for the system to protect us, to trust adults who have shown us over and over that they're not going to help. And when we finally defend ourselves the only way we can, they turn us into the bad guys. She was right. I had tried to be the perfect victim. I had asked for help. I had trusted the adults. And those same adults forced me to apologize to my abuser. What was I supposed to do after that? Keep taking it. Keep being raped by my cousin while everyone around me defended him. I got out of the center when I turned 16. I had changed. I wasn't the scared kid who didn't know how to defend himself anymore. I wasn't the silent victim, but I wasn't the same Malik from before the abuse either. That kid died a long time ago. I was someone new, someone who had survived hell and come out the other side. I went back to live with my mom, but our relationship was never the same. There's love there, I think, but there's also a distance neither of us knows how to cross. She looks at me and sees her failure as a mother. I look at her and see someone who didn't protect me when I needed it most. We're trying. We go to therapy together, but the damage is done. 3 months after getting out, something unexpected happened. Aunt Verna contacted me again. This time not to ask for forgiveness. She mailed a package to the house. Inside was a letter and a USB flash drive. The letter said, Malik, I found this on Trey's computer. It's his full diary. The forensics team only shared parts with us, but I got the full file. You need to have it. You need to know that everything you said was true and so much more. My son was a monster, and I was blind. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking that you know that I believe you, that I always should have believed you, and that I regret every second I let him keep hurting you. If you could forgive me someday, I'd be grateful. But if you can't, I understand. Verna. I read the full diary. Every sick entry, every detail of what he did to me and the others. It was like reliving the nightmare, but it was also necessary because it confirmed that none of this was my fault. That no matter what my traumatized brain told me, sometimes I didn't provoke any of this. I was a kid. He was the monster. I didn't reply to my aunt. Maybe someday I can, maybe not. For now, I just need to focus on myself, on healing, on learning to live with what happened, and with what I did. I went back to school, caught up on the classes I missed. Jada stayed my best friend through everything. She's the only person besides my therapist who I can really talk to. The only one who knows me completely and doesn't judge me. The other kids at school know what happened. It's impossible to keep that kind of thing secret in a town like this. Some avoid me. Others look at me with fear, some with pity. There's a group that sees me as some kind of dark hero, the kid who killed his abuser. I don't like any of those labels. I just want to be Malik. I just want to be 16 and worry about normal things like exams and what to watch on Netflix. But that normality is never coming back completely, and I'm learning to be okay with that. I'm learning that I can carry this and keep living, that I can have good days where I almost forget what happened, and that it's okay to have bad days where the weight of it all crushes me. I sleep peacefully now for the first time in 5 years. I don't have nightmares about Trey. I don't have panic attacks. I don't jump every time someone touches my shoulder. I look in the mirror and I see someone who survived. Not a victim, not a killer, just a survivor. Do I regret what I did? That's the question everyone wants to know. My mom, my therapist, the social worker who still visits me every month. The answer is complicated. I regret that things got to that point. I regret that nobody helped me when I asked for help. I regret that a 14-year-old kid had to make a decision like that. But I don't regret that Trey's dead. And I know that makes me sound like a monster to some people, but it's the truth. Trey raped me repeatedly for 3 years. He abused at least 3 other boys that we know of. Who knows how many more there would have been if he had stayed alive. His death saved lives. Maybe that doesn't make me a hero, but it doesn't make me the villain. Some people think I am either. I did what I had to do to survive. The system failed me. The adults who were supposed to protect me failed me. So I protected myself the only way I could in that moment. And I'm going to have to live with that for the rest of my life. Some days that feels impossible. Other days it feels like the simplest truth in the world. Justice didn't come when I raised my hand in class and asked for help. It didn't come when I told my mom and she didn't believe me. It didn't come when the counselor organized that disastrous meeting. It didn't come when the police investigated the first time I reported. Justice came in a lit-up pool on a Saturday night when I decided enough was enough. Does that make me a killer legally? Technically, I guess so. It makes me a survivor too. I can do both things at the same time. I can carry both truths. I killed my cousin. My cousin raped me for years. Both things are true. Both things are going to be part of me forever. There are days I think about how things would have been if someone had believed me the first time. If my mom had investigated instead of assuming it was cousin horseplay. If the counselor had handled things differently. If my aunt had had even a shred of doubt about her perfect son. Trey would be alive. Probably in prison after his diary was discovered and his other victims found the courage to speak. I wouldn't have to carry the weight of having killed someone. I wouldn't have spent 18 months in a treatment center. My relationship with my mom wouldn't be so damaged, but none of that happened. And I can't live in the what if. I can only live in the present, and in the present, I sleep peacefully for the first time in years. I don't jump when someone knocks on the door. I don't obsessively check my phone waiting for threatening messages. I don't have to pretend I'm sick to avoid family gatherings. Trey is gone. And that gives me peace. I know I'm not supposed to say that. I know I'm supposed to feel devastated for taking a life, but I can't fake something I don't feel. Not after everything I went through. Not after years of pretending I was okay when I was dying inside. So yeah, I took out my cousin. Yeah, he was my living nightmare. And yeah, I sleep easy now that he's gone. Judge me if you want. Call me a killer, call me a monster. I don't care. Because I know my truth. I lived my hell, and I did what I had to do to get out of it. If you're listening to this, and you've gone through something similar, I want you to know something. You are not alone. You aren't weak for needing help. You aren't weak for not being able to take it anymore. And if the system fails you, it doesn't mean you failed. It means the system is broken. Seek help. Speak up. Scream if you have to. And if nobody listens, keep talking until someone does. But I also want you to know this. Revenge and justice aren't the same thing. Surviving and taking revenge aren't the same thing. I didn't kill Trey for revenge. I killed him because in that moment, I felt like it was him or me. That if I let him live, he was going to keep destroying me until there was nothing left of me. It was survival instinct, desperation. Are there other ways I could have handled everything? Probably. I should have kept trying to ask for help. Maybe I regret not doing that. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. What I do know is that I was 14. I was traumatized alone, scared, and I made the decision I could make in that moment with the tools I had, and now I live with that. Some days I feel at peace. Other days, I feel like a fraud for feeling at peace. Therapy has helped me understand that both things can be true, that I can be grateful to be alive and free, while also processing the weight of having killed someone, that I can recognize Trey was a monster, while also recognizing he was a human being whose life I ended. It's complicated. Everything is complicated. And anyone who tells you this is black and white is either lying or has never lived in the shades of gray where I live now. Before I finish, I want to ask you something. If you liked this video, or if it made you feel something hit-like. I know it sounds weird to ask you that after telling you I killed someone, but this channel is important to me. It's a place where I can tell my truth, where I can connect with other people who have been through similar things. So if this resonated with you in any way, smash that like button down below. And if you want to hear more stories like this, real stories from teenagers who have lived things nobody should have to live, subscribe to the channel. It's easy, just hit the subscribe button that appears below. We upload new stories every day. Stories that are going to leave you speechless. Stories that might help you feel less alone if you're going through something similar. Let me know in the comments if you've lived something similar. If you felt like the system failed you. If you've had to make impossible decisions. You're not alone. There's a whole community here that understands you, that won't judge you, that knows life isn't as simple as good or bad. And sorry if this video was super long. I know I took like half an hour of your day, but these stories can't be told in 5 minutes. They need context. They need details. They need the full truth, not just sensational headlines. And my truth needed all this time to be told correctly. I needed to vent to someone who would understand me, to someone who could listen to the whole story without interrupting with judgment or unsolicited advice. And you did that. You made it this far. You listened to everything, and that means more to me than you can imagine. Thanks for being part of this community. Thanks for joining me in my story. Thanks for not closing the video when I said I killed someone. Thanks for giving me the chance to explain. Thanks for listening. See you in the next video. And remember, your story matters. Your truth matters. And no matter what you've been through or what you've done, you deserve to be heard. My name is Malik. I'm 16 years old. I killed my cousin when I was 14.